And welcome to Otaku no Video. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I'm here today to talk about Kodocha, Kodomo no Omocha, Child's Toy. This is thanks to a review recommendation posted on the site recently. Thanks again for recommending this, because I watched Kodocha and I loved it. Now, I've seen the first season of Kodocha, the first 50 episodes, I think is the number. And there's a second season in junior high, but I love this show, and I'll explain why. Now, this is a show made in the mid '90s, based on a manga. It was made by or directed by Akitaroh Daichi. Now, you may know him from Fruits Basket, Now and Then Here and There, Girl Power, a number of other things. And this is the work that he considered to be the first anime in which everything worked, in which the writing and the adaptation and the characters and so forth all just sort of came together. And he said to this day he's very proud that was where sort of all of his skills finally got to the point where they coalesced to make something that just worked. And boy, did they work. And as I mentioned, this is an adaptation of a manga, but he worked very closely with the mangaka. In fact, they're both still friends to this day. And it tells the story of elementary school kids, particularly one named Sana-chan, who is a childhood or a child star. She's an actress on a TV show, a comedy TV show, but also has to have a normal life. And so it's this goofball comedy aimed generally at sort of elementary school kids. Sana-chan is in 6th grade, I believe. 5th grade, I think. And it's about the trials and tribulations she has with her schoolmates, in particular one bully who is going nuts with the class. And here's the problem. I'm describing all this as though it's this goofy comedy for kids, and there's so much more there. This show, as of episode 15, is not the show it was in episode 1. And as of episode 48 or 49, it is a very different show. It's definitely a goofy comedy, but stuff comes in. This bully who is turning the class upside down is frustrating Sana like nothing, and she just wants to throw him out a window, and she's just boiling over with rage, and he's doing all this stuff, and she's just and in episode 2 she finally gets him alone, and what the heck are you doing? So he grabs her by the throat, shoves her up against a wall, and chokes her so hard that when he lets go, she falls on the floor coughing. Suddenly, it's not so funny. That's what bullies do. So this adds another layer to the show. That this kid is not just a kid, not just a normal bully. Then she finally decides she has to go and deal with his, and I'm not getting into any this is the first couple episodes. She then has to figure out what's going on. Why is he acting like this? So she goes and finds out that he lives with a father who is completely emotionally distant and an older sister who abuses him. No mother. And he has this really horrible, horrible home life. And this adds a new layer to the show. And it doesn't excuse his behavior, but all of a sudden you realize, wow, he is in hell. And that's what I love about Kodocha. So, the visual style of this is definitely goofy elementary school comedy. Bright, flashy, very simple, very two-dimensional, but very appropriate. This is a simple, fun comedy until, then these layers start getting added on. But it's still fundamentally a comedy for most of the show. It relies heavily on anime cliches. Directorially, and edit-wise, very fast-paced, boom, 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 lots of gags, lots of comedy, things coming at you very, very quickly. Daiichi's a master at this, and it's just, there's constantly stuff going at you. Very fast, very funny. But where it really shines is the characters. Daiichi's, and, the mangaka, everyone in general, is very good at starting you off with most of the cast, but just sort of introducing them. You see who's who and who's where. But you focus on Sana-chan, and you see other folks sort of in the periphery. And so you don't get overwhelmed with characters, but it's not like new characters just sort of show up every couple of episodes. There's this cast, and then you start dealing with this character, and then this character starts going somewhere. Wow, there's a lot of stuff to go through in 50 episodes, to be fair. The voice acting, I want to point out, I watched most of this with the Japanese dub, and then switched over and watched most of it with the English dub, some of the same episodes and some different episodes. And I will say that they're both equivalent, but not the same, in the sense that there are some voices that I thought were better in one and better in the other. But I think you're not gonna get a significantly worse experience in one dub or the other. And I want to give special shout out to the English voice actors for Sana-chan. Sana-chan is an incredibly difficult voice to get right because she speaks very fast with a lot of puns in her voice, and you can get away with that in Japanese. Just machine gun out stuff at the audience. That's very hard to do in English, and she does it. I'm extremely impressed. And she can do it partly because these characters have so much going on, and there's so much. The writing in this is so top notch. There's just a lot for her to work with. And fortunately, she has enough range to get it across. And as with everyone else, I mean, there's a significant emotional range that all the characters go through. Sometimes they're goofy, sometimes they're serious, sometimes they're kind of in the middle. Sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're hyper. It's a lot to go through. So kudos on both sides of the fence there. I also want to give a shout out to the composer. They obviously didn't have much budget for music because they're like about 4 songs in the entire thing. None of them are boring. Didn't get tired of any of them. I went off and bought the soundtrack to this thing. That's how much I enjoyed it, and I listened to it frequently. Fun and perfectly appropriate music. I mean, overall, as you can tell, I love Kodocha. I have not read any of the manga. I've just watched that first season of the TV show. But I was on tenterhooks, and I do need to mention before I go any further, before I wrap this up. This is a goofy comedy with these little bits of drama, spiced into it. And then at the end, they put Sana-chan through a ringer. This is a big ending. There is very little comedy as of the end of this show. And that works. Never thought I'd say that. I usually hate it when a show starts off in one thing and then ends up in something completely different. But I was totally sold on it, and by the end, I was on the edge of my seat to see how this would work out, and I had tears in my eyes. Yeah. Wow. Kodocha just totally bowled me over, and this may just be me, this may just be my reaction to it, but Kodocha, for me, is top of the line, best in show anime. It's the kind of thing I could show anyone. It's the kind of thing that has enough depth to really give you more than just goofy comedy, but the goofy comedy is great. It is, and I hate using value words, but it's funny. It is legitimately funny, and it keeps being funny for episode after episode after episode. Wow. What can I say more than that? This is a triumph